So it picks clips randomly, and then it randomizes the clips.
And those clips aren't just sound clips. It's actual, MIDI ideas that have been randomized with then sounds applied to it. It's like picture a giant Plinko.
Okay, so here is the first in the series of Off World Live studio visits, where we take a look under the hood of the inspiring artists who are using not just the Off World Live Toolkit, but everything above, around and beyond it. Starting with Memorecks, a formidable force in music production, professional producer who's worked with the likes of Zed's Dead. Also a part-time product specialist for Native Instruments. This Toronto-based incredible producer has now tried his hand at taking his skills into Unreal and is now producing a real-time visualizer for his procedurally generated lo-fi beat system, the Dream Machine. This system is set to exist on its own terms and make infinite combinations of visuals and beats that you can tune into anytime, and it'll be there dreaming up its own tunes. I'm going to drop a load of links in the description to learn more about Memorecks and his Dream Machine. Super clever stuff. Let's get into it. Let's have a look.
Yeah, so there's two components happening, right? There's the audio and the visual side. So on the audio side, we're procedurally generating lo-fi beats in real time. So that happens in Ableton Live using a whole bunch of MIDI patterns, samples, algorithms, Max for Live effects, a whole bunch of stuff happens to generate the music. And then that sends audio and MIDI signals to another computer that's running Unreal Engine. And in Unreal Engine, we have this level or scene I've created with all these little characters floating around the map. So there are elements to the visual that are procedurally generated as well. So every time a new beat happens in the audio, a whole bunch of parameters happen, change in the Unreal Engine setting or scene.
It looks like you got some audio reactive, like the eye, so like the emission strength is audio reactive by the looks of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So we have, I'm just dynamically setting like a scalar parameter on a material, sort of like routing everything to different events and interfaces to, so I'm trying to build it out in a modular sense, like if we wanted to create another level. So yeah, another cool thing to note, like the camera angles are changing on beat. So there's a MIDI clip in Ableton from the audio computer that's mapped, that's then received in Unreal, and the camera changes are happening from a MIDI clip. So depending on the BPM and tempo of the actual song that's playing, those changes will happen at a different time. Right. So it was a lot of fun, like sequencing the actual events and changes in Ableton, and then picking that up in Unreal Engine and having it do all sorts of things. So it lets me get out of certain things happening via timers or whatever, how I would normally do it in Unreal. I'm sequencing all these events out in Ableton as clips. I'm gonna hit simulate here just so I can keep it going and walk around. So yeah, this is the world. This is the universe. It's awesome. The scale of everything is pretty large, so it takes some time to move around. Yeah. And also on Team Viewer, which I'm using right now, it's hard to adjust things in the viewport, but hopefully this gives you a sense of like the level and how it's laid out. So there's different sections of the map that the characters are in. And we have a bunch of different Cinecams that are set up, and some of them are on rails. Actually, most of them are on rails. And I
think I can see some of the paths on there. Yeah.
See some of the curves, right? Yeah. Let me see if I can go over here. Yeah, there we go. So you see some of those set up. I've organized it sort of like this, right? So all the cameras are in the cameras folder. They're all parented to the rails. So the first, I'm not using all the cameras. Some of them are just like there to be used eventually. But we've set up, I think there's like 13 angles in total. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, I got a lot of support in the chat and in terms of setting up this next thing, which is just the blueprint that's changing all the cameras.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just using. If you can still hear me now, I'll just show you how this is set up. So we have one owl Cinecam set up as a master stream cam.
Yeah.
And that stream cam's location and all the other parameters are getting matched to the was previously, so they're just kind of left over. But I could use regular Cinecams for sort of like all these ones, and then just have one actual Cinecam that's connected to our spout sender. We have this one owl Cinecam that's doing all the streaming, and it's just getting like moved to different locations. And the way I do that is I have a blueprint that will change which camera is shown, and inside this, it looks like a bit of spaghetti if you're still with me here.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're just getting all the relevant settings that we want from the target camera, and then we're applying them to our master camera. So I tried it a whole bunch of different ways before, and this seemed to work the best and be the most performant.
Cool.
And we're calling this on tick, like we're calling this on event tick. So this allows us to have all the camera rails actually send their location as well, because the target cameras are parented to them. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. And other things to note, I mean, like we're pushing 1440p on the stream, and since we have it in like an office building with a dedicated fiber connection, we can push like 30,000 kilobits out of OBS, no problem. So the other end of this is it's coming into, well, I'm just going to turn off some stuff here just so I don't crash the GPU.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh god, it's still showing, but yeah, if you look in here, this is the live preview being composited with the logos and everything. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see that. Yeah, so I mean, I could show you more of the blueprints, like the MIDI receiver, the audio capture. There's a lot of different pieces here that sort of work together to make the whole shebang.
I am pretty interested in the getting the as you were saying, the camera changes like on time. That sounded really cool.
Yeah, so I'll show you that happens. So I have in my MIDI receiver blueprint, this is basically creating a MIDI input for me, and then it's parsing the signals into like discrete events, like so events I can understand and pick up. So I have something called MIDI cam change. So all the way down here, okay, when it's on MIDI channel 7 and it receives a note event, it triggers this event. So I'd have to show you the Ableton session to show you the actual clips in Ableton, which I can do real quick after this. But basically this event can then get picked up. Let's close out this MIDI receiver, go back to, I called it spout matcher, is the thing that controls our cameras. So we bring in the event from the interface called MIDI cam change, which is set up in that other thing, and then that will change a variable called target cam. Okay, and target cam is picked up on event tick, so we can change in real time what the target camera is. So all I have to do, what I'm going to do now is close out of Unreal. Give me a second here to just do this. I'm going to stop it, and then what I can show you is just like sort of how it would look in Ableton. So what I would do is I would build data in Ableton to actually control it, right? So if no one's familiar with music programs, it's basically just you have the sequencer that's driving the whole session all the time. So you set the tempo and it's going to perform these events at like the speed you set it up, right? So all I'd have to do is draw in like a bunch of different MIDI clips like this, and then these events would set where the MIDI's going. So I'll dial in my friend in a second. I'll show you the actual studio, but we have two computers and they're both connected with audio interfaces. So the MIDI signals and the audio get sent like physically to each other. So anything I write in Ableton, I can then pick up in Unreal. So imagine like a much larger session with lots more clips. So everything's like synced to the music. You know, when a bar changes in the song, the bar changes, or the camera changes in Unreal Engine. So that's the general idea there.
What's the method for getting the output from Ableton? Is there like a Ableton and Unreal? Like, how is Ableton and Unreal talking to each other with that?
That's just with straight old MIDI, right? So like, I would change this. So I have a few devices set up on my system right now, but if I wanted to send MIDI to Unreal, like internally from this computer, I would just choose like this thing called IAC MIDI driver, which is like an internal thing, and it has 16 channels, right? And then in Unreal, you're creating a MIDI device. Like MIDI is a standard from the 80s that all these manufacturers have agreed upon. So it's not really like, it's just Unreal's integration with MIDI that allows Ableton to talk to it. Wow. There is another way where I could use OSC. So Ableton has the ability to send OSC, and then Unreal has the ability to pick up OSC. So it's just, I chose MIDI because it's a wired connection. Like I could wire the two computers physically, so it's more stable. And it's a very generic and universal protocol. So Unreal Engine has a MIDI plugin like that's accessible that you could just enable, and then it's only a few notes away from getting these MIDI signals picked up into Unreal. Like the way this sort of works is these are all note numbers. So if I go down to the very, very bottom here to the lowest note, right, C-2, this would be an integer value of 0, right? And then I would pick up that integer value because I know it's coming from, a specific MIDI device on a specific channel. So, if I put channel 10 and then it's on, the lowest note possible, which is value 0. My head, like what channels I'm using, what integer values I've already used up and that are already mapped to discrete and specific things in Unreal, if that makes any sense. The other cool thing is like, you could have multiple clips set up, so if I put the actual values in here, you get an idea. So I'm sending out, int value of 0, int value of 2, int value of like 3, etc. Then Ableton has the ability to like play these back in a random order, which is pretty cool. So I go on, play another one. So now it's choosing a random value for me in Ableton, and that's happening to the music.
Really cool. So
I also send just like a signal to tell Unreal like, hey, a new beat has started.
Okay.
So I do that with just a clip with one single note, and then I pick that note number up in Unreal. And that's sort of what's happening there.
Awesome.
I guess I'll just quickly jump into like, I guess there's other technical considerations to be made when running it 24/7. Like for instance, things crash. So the Ableton session has a few crashes that, I was able to mitigate by like having an automatic restart every like so often. So using Keyboard Maestro on the Mac side of things, I'm able to like remotely trigger the reset macro from like a public URL that only I have, obviously. So I have like a manual restart. I have automatic restarts for that.
Well, good. So you can just do it on your phone if you're like on the bus or something.
Yeah,
Really
exactly.
cool. Yeah.
And I can also have that happen like periodically, right? So to avoid that, I just reset that. And on the Unreal side of things, we usually get like, I think we got 6 days actually before a GPU crash most recently.
Wow. Yeah.
Like up to 6 days. But eventually, I mean, despite my best efforts, our like RTX 3070 in the PC that powers it, it will eventually run out of like resources.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more optimizations to be made on the Unreal side of things, and I'm working on it all the time to, because I basically wanted to run without crashing, ideally, and without any like manual intervention. So doing my best using like auto hotkey on Windows, Keyboard Maestro on Mac to set up like as much automation as I can for both of the machines. My friend's just he's gonna be a minute and then he'll join us.
Nice to meet you. I'm Dan.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
I'm gonna walk you through our little Dream Machine setup here.
Awesome.
So first, what we've got is a Mac Mini, spec'd up M1, pretty fully loaded, and that's running the Ableton session. I don't know how much James has told you about it.
Yeah.
Is the mixing tree. You got the BPM, then it goes to key, then mode, then there's a reset macro in there. And then what you got is like shitloads of recordings, chord progressions, key lead ideas, melodies, all kinds of stuff, sounds.
Oh, so this is what it's picking from.
Exactly.
Is that right?
So
Yeah. Okay.
like a giant Plinko, like a decision tree, one and then the next and then the next, applying sounds to those ideas and randomizing within them, right, James?
Yeah. So it picks clips randomly and then it randomizes the clips.
Very cool.
And those clips aren't just sound clips. It's actual, Midi ideas that have been randomized with then sounds applied to it. It's like picture a giant Plinko, and it's making decisions that then affect the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah, got ya.
All the way down to little blips and then drum racks, all that jazz.
Super cool.
You see, it's actually like ideas. There's a few recordings, some field noise and stuff, like very ambient stuff you'd never recognize, but the rest is actual MIDI data, actual synths applied, actual like kicks disappearing and notes changing based on randomization within those ideas. So it's always changing, not sample based.
I'm just so impressed on how you've made it like a middle ground between random and still sounding like a song,
That's a lot of James massaging. He's a wizard at not only, the ideas in here, but then like auditing that and setting parameters and making it very plausible and approachable.
Yeah.
So that's the Ableton setup. That then runs through these interfaces. We got one that's going direct to the other computer, one that's going to the studio monitors, so we know what's happening outside of the stream, like locally. That then goes over to, let me just flip this for a sec. This PC rig, this one's running every time a beat's generated. It takes MIDI data and the sound data and regenerates all of the characters that were mapped in that level, the colors, like basically reiterates the whole thing and then starts sending you through the camera tracks again to check out each zone and with new colors, new characters, new eyes, new textures.
Okay. So like the times it changes colors, that's signifying a change in song, like the songs change.
Yeah.
Colors, characters, on the characters, the textures, the colors, the eyes, like everything gets reset each time a new beat starts.
Wow. And that's all MIDI data.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's MIDI coming from Ableton, yeah.
Very cool.
And that streams out from here onto the internet. I don't know how involved it is with like what you guys are doing, but I've got the prototype here, James. I can sell them the NFT collectible. So what we're doing, we've struck a partnership with a new platform called Wonder Gaming. They're publicly funded or publicly traded, funded, big launch kind of platform that has this new technology that allows you to purchase on credit card and mint out to 4 different blockchain protocols, one of them being Ethereum, of course. So we're going to be working with them And in February, you're going to be able to mint a dream, which is essentially a combination of a character and a beat that only you own.
Wow, you got the audio as well.
You get the typical MP4, digital version, but if you buy the tier 1, we mint it onto an NFC AR card as well. So you get the collectible, and the NFT becomes the proof of purchase, essentially, like the certificate of authenticity. These cards, you tap on any NFC device, and it launches your dream as a 3D AR sculpture. Like your lens will have your beat in it and your character that you picked, and no one else has that. Each series, we're gonna do them in series of drops. Each one, we pick 5 of the base model characters that are randomized, that you've seen at least familiar versions of, and we mint 10 cards of each. So each drop is 5 characters. So we can right now I think we have 100 bases. So just off the base that we have right now, we can do 20 drops.
Yeah. Super cool. I love this transition back into a semi-physical realm after making total digital.
Well, that's the whole promise here. I think we found a platform that makes the NFT purchase, or a first-time NFT purchase, very plausible for people, in that you can use credit card, you can mint to any chain. But at the same time, I think when people see a collector's card of a digital asset, they understand the tangibility a bit more and are motivated to go fuck, I want that. Fuck the fact that it's an NFT, I want that.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's non-fungible is even better.
Yeah, the NFT just backs up the collectible side of it, but you still have a physical thing. Yeah. Or at least the card is physical, leads to the hologram. Yeah. Super cool.
All right, I'll let you guys nerd out. I'm gonna get back to work. It's very nice meeting you, Jasper. And thanks so much you're with Off World, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Dude, amazing stuff. Honestly, when we're setting up cameras and all that, it's like a fucking movie in there. So thank you guys.
Cool. Yeah. It's just awesome to see you guys just doing mad stuff with it. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
I'll leave you guys to party.
Cheers, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing it. So awesome.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me on, and let me know if you need anything else on my end.